Here are some examples of those properties from the last video. Here we have two intersecting chords. We know the pieces are 7, 5, 2, and 1 is unknown. We know that if two chords intersect, the product of their pieces are equal. So taking the first chord, I have pieces 5 and X, and that is equal to product of the other two pieces of the second chord. So we end up with 5x is equal to 14, dividing both sides by 5. We get that the missing piece is 14/5. Product of these two pieces is equal to the product of these two pieces. Next example, two secants. Both start from the same point. If you recall, this is where we have outside times whole. So looking at the outside portion of this secant, I have 5. The whole is the entire length, 5 plus y. There is our first setup. On the other side of the equation, we follow the same pattern, outside multiplied by whole. The outside is 3. The whole thing is 3 added to 6 to give us 9. Don't make the common mistake of going 3 times 6. 6 is just the inside portion. We want the whole entire length, which in this case is 9, and then we want the outside portion, 3. Multiply those two portions together. Now we have a little bit of algebra to do to finish this out. And it looks like y is going to be 2/5 in this case. Picture is not obviously drawn to scale. Outside times the whole thing. Outside portion times this whole thing. Outside portion times this whole thing. We solve for the unknown. We get y equals 2/5. As long as we get a positive number, the situation is possible. Had we gotten 0, we would have had a bit of a problem. Had we gotten a negative number, we definitely would have had a problem. An answer of 0 would have been a little weird. It would have meant that there was no inside portion. Probably means we would have a tangent in that case, and not a secant like the picture shows. Negative number in this case would have meant the values were impossible. Since we got a positive number, everything's good, and it's on to the next. Very similar to the last one, only this time notice that the variable is now outside. This one is going to require a little more algebra that you may have forgotten from Algebra 1. We'll do the same approach. Outside times whole. Outside, whole thing. Outside, whole thing. Now we distribute. We end up with y squared and a 7y on the left-hand side. Right-hand side, we get 144. This is an equation that you may remember from Algebra 1. We have something squared, something to the first power. What we need to do is set one side equal to 0 And now your choices are use the quadratic formula, or in this case, you can factor. This is one of those skills you need to master in order to be successful in Algebra 2. I need two things that multiply to be y squared. Those two things are y and y. This number times this number has to be a negative 144. That tells me that they will have opposite signs. So I need two numbers that multiply to negative 144. Those same two numbers have to add to be 7y. So I need two numbers that multiply to negative 144. The same two numbers have to be apart by 7. And there are two numbers that work. Those numbers are 16 and 9. Those are the two values. If you were to multiply this out, you should get back to this step here. Y times y is y squared. 16 times negative 9 is negative 144. 16y, negative 9y does combine to be positive 7y. These are the two correct factors. Set each factor equal to 0, and then solve for y. This first factor is going to give us a negative answer. Y cannot be a negative number. If this was just a regular algebra class, we would have two answers, but since we have some extra context here, we're only going to have one. This will not give us a solution that works in this particular problem. This will. Y is equal to 9. Once in a while, you will come across a problem like this, and this is one of the ways to handle it. The other option, use quadratic formula if the two values do not, or if the equation does not factor, or if you simply want to avoid factor. And we all should know the quadratic formula. Whoa, that's not the quadratic formula. Plus or minus. Getting my things mixed up here. There we go. I think I need some refresher. A, B, C. Don't forget the negative number. Be careful here when you minus something that's going to come out negative. And in this particular example, you should still get the same two values at the end. A in this case will be 1. Final example. We have a secant and a tangent. Following the same pattern, outside times whole. Our outside, we have 4, and our whole, 4 plus z. On the other side, the tangent, you would call the tangent, is both outside and whole. So we multiply that by itself, square it. A little bit of algebra. And we can reduce this down to the value of 5. Outside times whole, again, they're both the same. Outside times the whole, outside, and then the whole is 4 plus the outside plus the inside to get the whole. And there you have it. Don't forget to do your completion quiz at the end. Make sure you submit it.